What's up, Kansas City? This is Serenity. I'm here with John Murphy, one of the co-founders of the Citizens for Responsible Government. And so, why don't you tell us you're in today to talk about the $800 million bond. But we're going to first go into the background of who you are and what you do with the Citizens for Responsible Government.
Well, Serenity, thank you very much for having us here today. I'm with a group, helped co-found a group called Citizens for Responsible Government. And we've been in operation now for about 8 years. How this thing started, why we're involved in it, well, most of us got involved in it because we're very heavily involved in the home associations that run our local neighborhood. And every year, the city services got worse and worse and worse, and the city wanted more money out of us to do less things, and it became a problem. And we would get around monthly, quarterly, yearly, and just sit around and just, complain about it. And finally, we said, either we got to do something or stop complaining about it. So about 4 years ago, when the city decided that announced they were going to build a new airport, whether we wanted it or not, we said, you know what? We're going to push back.
Right.
No, we don't need a new airport, and we started a petition drive to stop the airport. And then we founded we came up with the name Citizens for Responsible Government. We formed it. We stopped the airport, and since that time, we've been heavily involved in stopping the expansion of the streetcar, the downtown Hyatt, and a number of other oddball.
And stopping some stuff.
We're stopping stuff. We're also for things like good schools and getting rid of crime. But that's the stuff these big ticket items that the city keeps trying to impose on us really hurt the people of Kansas City rather than help them.
Okay. I know we've had not John Murphy. We've had Dan Coffey on the network before. And
yes.
He's usually the representative. So it's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Merry Christmas.
So I just want to go into your own personal background. You've been in the commodity business.
I've been in the commodity business since getting out of college. I was born and raised in New York City. I love New York City, but like most New Yorkers that move out here, we never want to go back. So I've been on Wall Street for a number of years, and for a couple of years I commuted. I worked in the energy space here in the city for a company that's no longer in operation. Mm-hmm. And since that time, I've had a couple of smaller ventures of my own, trying to keep them from going very small, but been active in the commodity space since 1987.
Wow, so you're very familiar with that. Okay, so this $800 million blank check, as I know we talked before, we did the interview, and we were talking about different things going on in the city. And tell us the background of that and where did this whole thing come from, especially because you guys are considered to be a blank check. Because like blank check, like whoa, like what? Where is this money going? What's going to happen?
That $800 million blank check the city's asking for is a huge number. And we looked at it first and we said, okay, the city wants to come out and raise it's an $800 million bond. And what's a bond? A bond is a way to going out and getting a loan in the security market. So the city comes out and borrows $800 million to do specific things. Mm-hmm. So at first we heard, what's this $800 million bond about? And then we heard the city manager, well, it's going to be for infrastructure. We're like, well, we need a lot of infrastructure. Roads are a mess. Yeah. Parks are a mess. Bridges are collapsing. All sorts of things need to be done. So we started asking, what exactly do you want to do? And what we kept getting was, well, infrastructure. Well, what infrastructure projects do you want to do?
Yeah, because $800 million, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's a big give. And they're like, well, infrastructure kind of infrastructure. I'm like, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. And, well, we'll come back to you with that. And I was like, no. Where did you get the $800 million from? Well, that's what we think it's going to take to fix things. I'm like, well, hold on a second. Well, the way you come up with that $800 million, where is
that going
to first you make a list of things of, this is the stuff we need. This is what's going to cost, and this is the priority we want to go with, and that's the number they came up. It seems to me that they came up with $800 million, or someone told them to go and get an $800 million loan, and then you'll figure out what projects you need later. And that's exactly what it seems they're doing. Last week and this week, they're sitting around in meetings deciding on what things they might want to do. Well, if I'm going to give you an $800 million blank check, you better come up with very specific things, what that's going to cost with estimates and who did the estimate, and the priority into which you're going to do them.
So what are the main things they were saying, like once they finally did come back with something? Like what are they saying?
Well, they kind of came back with a whole bunch of nebulous-looking stuff. One thing we saw in the newspaper is they want to give almost $500 million to the water department. the water department is raising our rates every year now for the next 19 years, like 15+% to cover infrastructure costs. And we're going to give them more money on top of that. We have not had a public audit of the water department. Now, there is a petition going around now, and people need to find it and sign it. We can get you information on that and order the state to have that audit done. Right. The second thing that the city's talking about is, and again, it's very nebulous. It's all sorts of things about sidewalks. Well, which sidewalks? What broken sidewalks? They're talking about buildings. Well, whose buildings are you going to fix up? Is it a friend of the mayor's? Is it a friend of Joe Smith, the councilman? Or is it
that's not what they're doing.
Well, they don't have, you want to have a specific list of things that they need.
Right. For
not this nebulous list that they're saying, well, we might do this or we might do that, and we need maybe better bus service over here, or we need, more police presence over here. Well, come up with the list. And don't come up with the list after you ask for the money. Come up with the list, figure out what it's going to cost, and then let's talk about the money. And you're not going to get $800 million at one shot. The way you deal with that is incrementally. You basically say, okay, you need this done, and it's going to cost you X. We'll give you this amount of money. Let's review how it's going, and then come back to us. If it's not going well, you're not getting any more money. Same way you would in any business or any home. You'd never hire a contractor and have them say, I need a new room. How much is it going to cost? Well, $250,000, and hand them the $250,000 check. You'd say, well, what are you going to do with this $250,000?
Right.
And then you would go out and bid that. Say, well, he's $250,000, that guy's $150,000, that guy's $90,000, and go from there.
So, what is the citizens responsible government? What are you guys doing as far as trying to stop this?
Well, again, we do need a lot of infrastructure done in the city. So we want clarity as to what exactly they're going to do prior to getting this bond done. So we're going to force them to come up with a list of things that they want to get done, and we're going to look at it. And we're going to look at what it's going to cost and look at their priority. We want accountability. We want transparency. We don't know what they're doing with our money, because we keep hearing this stuff about, a couple of months ago, they were out banging on our doors about doing that 1% earnings tax, about all this stuff was going to happen if we didn't do it. Well, they talked about, if we don't do this, we're going to cut the police and the crime is going to go up. Well,
the 1% tax, they've been going back and forth with that for years.
Yeah, and they've got to renew it every couple of years.
Yeah, and it seems like it still always gets renewed.
It gets renewed, and they come to your door and tell you that it's going to be the end of the world if you don't do it, and they still cut services. So where does this money go? And we're trying to track this stuff down. I mean, with that streetcar, they talked about how the streetcar is going to be self-sustaining. I'm thinking there's no fares going into the till at the streetcar. So what they've been doing is cutting bus service throughout the city. So
and that is definitely not something that we need.
No, we don't. The working poor can't afford.
We need to increase the time schedule on the bus service. So we need to increase funds in the bus service, because most large metropolitan areas have buses that run 24 hours. Ours don't.
No, and that's true. And if you look at that State Line Avenue bus that goes out from 75th Street to State Line down to 435, they have cut the bone out of that, and the majority of people using that bus work down at St. Joseph's Hospital. Well, there's no service midday. So if you're at that hospital and you have to get home for a sick kid, how do you get home?
Uber.
And what does that cost you? $30?
Yeah.
That's the thing is, the working poor and other people use the bus, and the reason it's very expensive to own and maintain cars.
It is.
It's extremely expensive to park downtown.
Oh, it definitely is.
And it's unfair. And the streetcar what I'm reading about now is that they're empty in the wintertime because there's nobody riding them.
And then my thing is, why was the streetcar initiative not set to where it would eventually go around the whole city?
Well, part of that was cost, but remember the streetcar was done at a very very shady vote. They only allowed a certain number of people to vote on it. You had to write the judge a letter showing him proving to the judge that you had the ability to vote in Kansas City. The judge sent you back a ballot, which you filled out and notarized and then sent back to the courthouse. So that streetcar was voted in with 354 votes, and that's it. And I think Crosby Kemper called it the most corrupt vote since the days of Tom Prendergast. And I think it is.
Oh, you went back to the Prendergast?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's Kansas City has a long history of corruption, and that it started back then.
Yeah. So what initiatives are they using to get this $800 million? Because that's like you said, just a loan, but where is this money coming from initially? Is this still just going to be on a ballot? Like, how is this going?
Well, it's going to have to go to a ballot. We'll have to vote on it. I believe 57% of the vote you'll have to win by 57% of the vote for it to go forward. And once it goes forward, they'll go out to the securities markets to guys who write bonds and go out and sell it to investors. And for that, we'll have to pay over the course of 20 years. We'll pay the loan back with an interest rate, and that's how that will happen. What happens to the money and what they do with the money, God only knows, because we're not getting a full list, and really, the voters should say no to this thing unless they get a full list with an estimate and a priority of the projects. That's the way it's done. And if we go the route where we just give them $800 million, I can guarantee you there'll be about 3 sidewalks fixed, and that's about it.
Not 3 sidewalks. So when do they project to start working on getting this money?
Well, there's an April vote. That's what they're talking about. There'll be a vote in April by the voters. And if it goes forward, they'll go immediately to the bond markets to start raising that money. But everybody should be calling their council members, asking them, what are you planning to do with this? That you want to see a list. That list has to be public, and you better stick by it. And I would say you're not going to get the full $800 million. Ratchet it back to say $20 million at a clip, or $25 million at a clip. And
explain what you mean by that.
Well, sure. You can go out and say, hey, give us the $800 million. We want to borrow the $800 million today. And you can go out to the capital markets and issue that bond, and that $800 million comes into Troy Schulte's office, and he can dole that stuff out like candy on Halloween. Or you would say, what you should say is, well, we don't think giving you $800 million and having no checks on it is a good thing. What we'd rather do, or rather see, is one, we want to see that list, and we want it broken down into a list of priorities. And every year, you're going to come back to us and ask for a portion of that $800 million, and we will. If you're doing what you say you're doing it, and doing it well, and doing it right, you'll get more. If you don't, you're not getting any more. So it's basically putting a string or a leash on our overzealous council members and the city manager. It's a way of checking your elected officials, which is, the system that works well in government is a system of checks and balances. And as the taxpayer, we hold the purse strings.
That's true.
And we have to. I
think sometimes we forget that we are the ones who have.
We might. They definitely do, and they keep coming back and asking us for more money as if they're entitled to it. And you know what? At a certain point in time, people come back and say, "Hey, enough. You've got enough money. Manage it better, or we'll find somebody else who knows how to do it."
So, how would somebody get in contact, like if they wanted information, like because you guys have regular meetings? Correct? We have annual group meetings, but we put stuff out on Facebook. We put stuff out on emails. Citizens for Responsible Government can find us on Facebook. We put stuff out all the time. That's the easiest thing for us. You can contact us on Facebook. We can get your email address and put you out for alerts. And that's. But do you have like regular meetings though? It's like if someone wanted to be involved.
Yeah, we do have. Well, we say regular meetings. It's mostly we're kind of an ad hoc group that we don't have an office or a board meeting. Like we kind of get together informally and say, okay, we got 6 people that are most activists in this thing. So it's like, okay, these are like the 10 things coming out of City Hall this month. What do we feel strongly about? We kind of talk about it, and it's okay. We'll work on this, or maybe work on nothing until the next big issue. But you could reach out to us on Facebook and get in touch with us there. And we have meetings from time to time. Mostly, it's a conference call. Right. It's just easier because we try to get 20 people who've got kids and grandkids and jobs and all sorts of things in a room. It just never happens. But if you do it on a conference call, you can just do it.
All right. Okay. So how would somebody also get in contact with you as far as if they wanted to help with the initiative to stop the bond or anything you guys are working on?
Oh, if they want to get in touch with us, Citizens for Responsible Government, again on Facebook, just hit it, say you can private message us, and we'll get a hold of you. But that would be the best way to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. And of course, you can get in contact with me on Twitter or Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Serenity2_ and the word speak on Facebook. That's facebook.com/SerenitySpeak. And I'm Serenity, where I speak your peace. And make sure you check out whatsupkansascity.net. Remember, if you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Cat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.